Hi everyone, I'm really excited for this episode because this is the first time we're actually doing an interview, and I'm the one who's going to be the host. And for today, I'm really excited because I have here with me Georgia Todoran. Say hello to the audience,
Hello,
George.
Vlad. Hello, everyone.
And it's n- Actually I met Georgia last year when we were both working at a local company. I think we can say the name.
Of course.
It's BMW TechWorks, and I was working there as a CTO, and he was hired as an AI. Am I saying correctly? AI principal, right? Principal
Principal
AI
AI
principal
architect. Principal AI
principal
architect.
AI architect.
Yes.
And we had a really, even for a short while, we had a really great time there because we developed a lot of things, and we had great conversations about AI. And while nowadays, if you go to LinkedIn, you will see that everyone is an expert in AI, which previously they were experts in blockchain. Do you know what I'm talking about? Uh, I don't think that the vast majority of software developers who basically just dip their toes into Claude Code and Copilot and all these OpenAI LLMs we've been using for 2 or 3 years, we can call ourselves experts. But Georgia, actually, we can call Georgia an expert because he did his PhD also in signal processing, which is related to AI as well. And he's been using AI and machine learning for a very long time. So I'm going to give the microphone to Georgia to introduce himself and to tell you a little bit about his experience.
Thank you very much, Vlad. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here with you and to share about my experience and about my knowledge. So yeah, as a brief introduction of myself, yeah, I did my PhD in signal processing, but also with an important part of machine learning. It was quite before the deep learning boom. So we still needed to do a lot of feature engineering and then applying at the end some classical machine learning techniques like SVMs and the neural networks. So that was my PhD. And after that, I moved into in the industry. I worked for a couple of years for a robotics company working on autonomous underwater robots. Then I moved to an e-commerce company where I stayed 5 years, and I joined a lot because e-commerce means a lot of data, a lot of customers, a lot of very nice features to develop and ship. And after that experience, I joined Toyota for their autonomous driving division, where I worked a lot on mapping, building maps for AD/ADAS systems. And last year, as you mentioned, Vlad, yeah, I joined BMW TechWorks Romania as a principal AI architect. And yeah, throughout this career, let's say more than 15 years, yeah, I spanned from, let's say, some classical machine learning to deep learning, computer vision, of course, and then now it's mostly about large language models and visual language models and so on. What you're calling now AI.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, my experience with AI started in college. I think that you also studied the same field as I did. I studied electronics and telecommunications, right?
Exactly. Yes. Correct.
So we are like the exception to the rule because most of the time when you have like software engineers, you expect them to graduate computer science or something that's I would say primarily focused on programming and computer systems. But then we took a very different route. We took actually the ancient route, like the Claude Shannon route, when back at the time there was no computer science, there were only electronics, and they were doing a lot of telecommunications because radio was the new thing at the time.
Mhm.
Was like AI now, and it's interesting because in school, even if we didn't study computer science, we actually did a little bit of neural networks, although that was 20 years ago, and the processing power and the algorithm were not even close to what we have right now. So because today I wanted to talk about the past, the present, and the future of AI. Let's talk a little bit about the past because we've been we've been having AI and neural networks for quite some time. If I remember when I was in school, I had a what was it called? It was called, maybe you remember this class. It was called TTI. It was the theory of transmitting information, if you remember. And
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it
seven, yeah, yeah,
is
please.
the information theory. Yeah, at the end,
Hmm.
the information theory that allow the telecommunication. So telecommunication means
Exactly,
sending the information far away apart. So tele, yeah, this means distance.
exactly.
Yeah, a distance. And yeah, we had this information theory, of course. Yeah, yeah, and we
And
had all
and
the all the system associated with this, with the source encoding, with the channel encoding,
exactly.
and how we are decoding the information. All of this. Yeah, of course. Yeah,
And if you remember, uh, a lot of the formulas we had and a lot of theory was based on Claude Shannon at the
of
time.
course.
So Claude is exactly what why we have Claude Code now. Claude is from Claude Shannon actually,
Yeah,
and he's like the father of the information technology, how you transmit information over the wire. And actually, I remember that we learned that he built like a very rudimentary maze where you put a mouse and only using only hardware, only electronics at the time, the mouse was able to learn the path, which is like the first artificial intelligence system basically, because it was the mouse was able to learn. So that was the first. So I don't know if when you studied your during your PhD, this is basically what this was the first, or can you tell us a little bit more about how we actually got here
yeah.
over the span of
This is a
70?
very good question. And for those, yeah, who want to understand, yeah, how this ML AI algorithms work, you need to understand the information theory, because at the end, this is what you're trying to encode. This is what you're trying to decode. Yeah, is the information you're trying to maximize an outcome, and you are learning it. So I would say, yeah, I'm not going into all these details. How we got this with the different steps. But one important thing that maybe we are not realizing is that when Claude Shannon was there and when it was Van Neumann, yeah, another
Van
very
Neumann.
big
Hmm.
pioneer in the computer science and also pioneer in the, let's call it, beginning of the AI, they they needed to have some mathematical proofs, because that was the only way to model something and try to build something. So at the beginning, there was a lot of modeling, and they tried to use the probability theory and the mathematical tools had to build something that allowed us to build something intelligent. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's how the entropy theory started with Claude Shannon and all of these things. Yeah. So at the beginning, it was a lot of mathematical theory because we did not have the hardware, the power of the hardware, the
Hmm.
data, it was not there. So we
Exactly.
first needed to have some proofs that, okay, this is the right direction to go. This is
Hmm.
something that I can prove that it will work on real cases. So all this, yeah, we have the chance that people spend a lot of time, to trying to model things and to find some ways that we can build intelligent systems.
Hmm.
So all this, of course, all this theoretical part had their ups and downs, with some nice discoveries, and there were periods that nothing was discovered. There was like the winter of AI, because
Hmm.
all this, they created a lot of promises. Like in theory, we can build things, we can do stuff. But then when you're trying to implement, we are far away from that. So it was the winter of AI, and everyone forgot about it and said, okay, it's only a promise, we'll never be there. But
Hmm.
there started to be some breakthroughs, and only at the beginning of the 90s they started to build something that had like some impact, like some revenue that create value.
Hmm.
And then everything got speed up with the developments in the hardware part. So we had better processing, and we had a lot of data with all the sensors that we started to have. But just
Hmm.
think, in the 70s, 80s, we were not having cameras, so we were not having
Exactly.
microphones, we were not having
Hmm.
things. But with the 90s, and to not mention the 2000, we started to have a
Mhm.
lot of data, and we started to have a lot of processing power. And this
Mhm.
shifted a little bit. And this is what I learned in 2018, when I went to a conference and I discussed with someone from Google. Yeah, they did all these models that were deployed on mobile. They were all called mobile net V1, V2, V3, and so on. I said, oh my God, it is amazing. How you are designing all
Mhm.
these networks. Wow, it's mind blowing, how you are choosing the right layers with all these things, how you are doing all this. And at the end, he said, yeah, but it's not so much that you are understanding things. It's that you are
Mhm.
experimenting a lot because you
Yeah.
have the luxury to be capable of experimenting a lot. So what?
Mhm.
So it transitioned from something that it was proved mathematically to something that we are trying, experimenting, we are experimenting a lot, changing some things. We are trying after that to understand why it did not work, what needs to change. And when it worked, we're trying to find why it worked so that to
Mm.
have some intuition. And everything it's a lot about intuition, about knowledge acquire from experimenting and this
Mhm.
intuition. And even now, if you are checking the latest papers on AI, it's not a lot about mathematics. It's not
Mhm.
proved. This model will be this, and then proving by some
Exactly.
formulas and some equations and trying to do this. No, it's about a lot about intuition. But this intuition comes from understanding the basic things, and then you're
Mhm.
trying to put things together, try to see how it behaves, how we should do this, and try to find, again, to understand what is happening. But it's through experimentation. I would say this
Mhm.
changed a lot, the possibility to experiment a lot.
Yeah, maybe it's also because these systems are non-deterministic, so that's why we cannot just easily transform and explain how they work using plain math. Because if they were deterministic, you would be able to explain
Yes.
and um, build like a mathematical model that can,
Well, that
when you
one,
give
that
the
one,
input. Hmm.
by the way, this is very, very interesting, this non-deterministic behavior, where in fact, they can be also deterministic. But the thing
Okay,
is that if you are making them deterministic, they
uh,
are their output is not great.
it's not good. Not good.
Not good, but because at the end they are trying to get some they are representing all that data that was put at the training time. They're trying to
Hmm.
summarize everything and to learn the statistics, the patterns, and everything. And of course, it's a lot of data. You need to compress all that data in the weights of that model. Of course,
Hmm.
it's not an easy job. And if you are remaining like, please give me each time, give me the most probable token, it will not be. And this is also by observation. They observe that it's not great, especially in
Hmm.
writing text. It's very boring text.
Blunt,
Nothing is
probably.
blunt.
Hmm.
It's not great. But if you're putting some, okay, not give me from time to time, not give me the most probable
Hmm.
next token, but the second one or the third one, it gets more interesting. You're adding some kind of noise to the model, and model becomes a bit more creative.
Okay.
Creative with this, and you create something that is not statistically, there, like the maximum probability to get output, but something. This is how it gets all the creativity and all of this, and this also gets
Hmm.
about the hallucination. Yeah. The problem. Yeah.
So,
And this
so
is
at the end.
and this is very interesting because again, it's not something that is proved. You should put like and by the way, this parameter, the temperature of the model and things like this. It's not proven that for this task you should put it to zero point 0.1. For this you should put it zero point 0.2. This is put 0. This is also about trying it and making some choices depending on your use cases.
It's very
Yeah.
interesting because basically we are trying to build like at least at least in my perception, we're trying to build systems which are better and in a way we don't want them to be perfect because
Yes.
if they were perfect, the result would be far from what we the definition of perfection, what we want to get. And maybe the brain also, maybe the human brain is like this. We
Of
are
course.
introducing all sort of I don't know, random thoughts and trying, as you said, when they were trying to enhance or they were trying to explore new ways to get around the limitations of AI that led us to the AI winter that you mentioned. they were trying to experiment and throw all sort of probably crazy things to see what works. And in the end, yeah, probably because people always assume that when you're doing this job, it's only pure mathematical, but it's not like that. Sometimes
Of course.
you
No,
also
no,
have to
no.
use your intuition of
Of course,
what.
you need to
Mhm.
have to use your intuition, and it's very important to be capable of implementing fast. Because if you have an
Mhm.
idea, you
Exactly.
need to try it fast. So in when we are training machine learning models, each time they had a new idea, if you're not good at programming stuff,
Hmm.
try to implement, you're not getting very, very far away, because all
Hmm.
your ideas, they need to be tested very, very fast. So that's why all this machine learning engineering training models, it's a lot of work about data engineering to have the data available when you want to train, to have automation of your training pipeline, to be very easy to change some parameters, hyperparameters, or to change the model, or to change the
Hmm.
validation, or the loss function, or some things. Because you're having ideas in order to try them fast, not spend a quarter, to try a new idea,
Hmm.
but a couple of
Hmm.
days. So that was the hard part about being even now that this is the hard part of being an AI engineer, like when you are developing models or when you are trying something,
Hmm.
you need to be fast, and for this you need a lot of things, a lot of
So,
skills.
so basically, just for vibe coders, it's not just that you need to have a lot of ideas and to throw them because when you're vibe coding, your first the first spark is that you have a lot of ideas, and in the end, you can get a lot of output from AI. But in the end, that's not sufficient because you still need to add a
Of
lot of
course,
structure to it.
of
So to
course, yeah.
summarize the past, because it took a long time, and the reason why we got here is because we have now more processing power because of the cloud. Because now in the cloud you can get for a brief period of time you can get a huge amount of resources that otherwise would have cost you a lot of money to just build all that huge data center to give you the processing power to train
Mm,
an AI model using a huge volume of data. And also, all these years of experimenting with in Google and other AI labs allowed us to be able to get the algorithm or the I don't know the models that basically got us these LLMs. So now we're here, like we're now in the present. So in the present, actually the present, I would say like the last 2 years since
mm.
ChatGPT launched the first version of public GPT. So right now, how would you summarize the current state of AI and the current capabilities of what you can do with it? Are you surprised by how far we've got? And as an expert, because you're an expert in this, what's your feeling about the current capabilities of AI? So what you can do with them?
Yeah, the current capabilities, so the capabilities proved, yeah, in the last, let's say, 2 years. They're
Mm-hmm.
really, really impressive, yeah. And I'm more impressed by the adoption by the general public and also by the industry. But let's not forget about the general public, because if you are checking OpenAI statistics, you'll see that more than 50% are on personal use.
Mm-hmm.
So it got, to the persons. It's not only for the industry. Previously, the machine learning models was mostly for the industry, having something on the
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
smartphones, but it's not that. But now, with all these models, it got to the persons. Yeah. And through these persons, we were trying to search things and find things, analyze things. Also got, I would say, very fast to the industry also. And even though in the industry, yeah, to prove the return on investment is still something to work on.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some areas where it proved that they can bring value to companies. And for me, yeah, of course, we can discuss about software development and yeah, so on. But for me, yeah, to give an example,
Mm-hmm.
I was always, because I developed a chatbot in 2016. I would say the
Whoa.
first one for a
Mm-hmm.
company.
Okay.
And
Nice.
it was so difficult, and it was so
I
not
bet.
not good. It was so, I don't know, it was not great, so the experience was very, very bad, and it was
Okay.
keep saying the same things, and it was so difficult to make it work. And they say, oh my God, the feedback from the customers were awful. But now, of course, we're no longer using the term chatbot because it's like you're thinking about
Mm-hmm.
that 10 years ago. But all these assistants now, they became very, very good. So
Mm-hmm.
now if
That's
you're asking some questions, it is capable, and it can help you. It can really help you. It can really understand what are your problems, what you're trying to achieve. It can go and search from data from the company, databases on sources, and do this. It can get your profile, all these things. It's much more powerful. And all these assistants, AI assistants, yeah, I think these are a great benefit for the companies and the interactions with the customers.
that's true, and I think that the vast majority of companies nowadays provide those, and they've become really good. Like yesterday, I was interacting with a chatbot from Teachable in relation to some inquiry that I had, and it was I think I think the chatbot did a really good job,
Yeah.
and like 90% of what a human would do otherwise. And so you mentioned that okay, it was the chatbots, and I think that the chatbots are basically the most common, I would say, tools that are being used on a very large scale, because the vast
Yeah.
majority of people, if they use AI, they will use the ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, the chatbots. So you would ask a question, you would prompt it, and it would get the answer. So I think that for the vast majority of people, this is going to be the most
And also,
useful,
not to
right?
forget, people that are already used to chat
Mm-hmm.
with a chat GPT model or a Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
to search information,
Exactly.
to refine the information. It's much, how to say, the usage of a, let's say, enterprise chatbot
Okay.
is much easy. You're already used with this kind of chatting. You are
Exactly.
better in formulating the questions, and
Mm-hmm.
you got used to how to reformulate things. And if the please give me some more information, you are mostly
Mm-hmm.
used to give all this. So this helped a lot. So the adoption of, because previously no
Mm-hmm.
one was using the chatbots, and if they're using, they were complaining a lot. And now it's more like, no, now it's more like, okay, they get more capable, and they're more, and also people got used to, yeah, to use them. Yeah.
So people got educated into how to
Yes,
get the best out of these tools.
correct.
And okay, I cannot complain about the state of these ChatGPT like tools, because they are really good. But for me, I think as a software developer,
Okay.
for me, what was remarkable over the last 6 months, I would say, was Claude Code, the CLI tool, because it can do things that go beyond just chatting, because it can actually
Yes.
change diagrams, implement GNU plot, or change SVG using whatever tools Claude Code is comfortable. Most of the time, I realize that it likes Python a lot, so it tries to do a lot
Of
of
course.
stuff in Python. And for me, that was really impressive, because I went beyond what. So ChatGPT was something like a substitute for uh, getting the information, which previously I would get that information from Google, from Stack Overflow, from forums, from other from documentation, and now I can easily get it directly, so it can summarize the information for me. But it was the Claude Code basically who basically gave me more out of my, so it could automate things that previously would not be possible, so I could
Yes.
delegate even more work to it.
And this work was a tedious work. To
Tedious
change
work,
some
exactly.
SVG or create some
Exactly.
presentation
A
or
lot
do
of time.
some graphics
Hmm.
and do some images, it took a lot of time. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that. But also there are like autonomous agents. Now I haven't used them because my what I have to do in my like for my business I don't really have the need for those. But do you know for from some companies that you interacted with, is this what is the current state of these semi or fully autonomous AI agents? Is this something that really works at at this moment, or what do you
Well,
think about
it
it?
depends, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
the question
Okay.
is, it depends. Yeah.
Like
So
always.
yes, like always. Yeah. But what all these recent advancements on Claude Code
Mm-hmm.
and also the starting from GPT 5 point something, they're also very capable. Um, the thing is that a lot of tasks that were tedious, that were demand a lot of work, they can be automated. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
at the end, it will depend. Yeah, it will depend on what? It will depend on the complexity of the task. If it's something
Mm-hmm.
very easy to explain, it will it will be okay. It will depend on the risk of the task to not be
Mm-hmm.
correctly
Exactly.
implemented. Yeah, so at the end, it's some risk assessment of the data that it is being used. So depending on this, if you are making some analysis and you're saying, okay, I have some process that is not so critical, let's say it's not so critical, and but it demands some people to work on it, and it can be automated. So if you're doing this kind of analysis, yeah, you can
Mm-hmm.
automate processes, and there are a lot of them. There are processes that I don't know, it needs to approve something, but the value is very low, but it still needs to be approved.
Mm-hmm.
So of course you can automate that, all this, to understand that everything, all the pieces, all the documents, all these are there, and then you can automate something, and you no longer need a person to do this. And
So we're mhm.
but at the same time, there are processes that still need some human
Intervention.
intervention, human in the loop. So there can be processes that are semi-automated. Some parts are automated, some parts are delegated to humans. Some parts are automated, but with the human
Mm-hmm.
approval. So it will not finish until a human gets and approves. So in the industry, you have all these kinds of things. And
Mm-hmm.
usually at the end, what it gets is some risk assessment, some criticality of the process. And if it's below some threshold, the process can be, let's say, tagged like ready for automation, AI automation, and we will just look at that process from time to time. Of course, we are keeping monitoring. We are monitoring everything, and
Mm-hmm.
we will, if something happens, yeah, we will get back to that process. But if it's like low risk, low impact, why not automate it?
Why not automate it? So basically,
Yeah.
at the moment, AI is not like a golden hammer that you can use
No.
to solve all the problems that you had, and all these companies have to find the best way to use AI to their particular processes, so that
Yes.
in the end they can get better productivity, and as you
Yes.
said, without facing any risk. Like if you are a bank and you make a mistake, you can lose, not only that you can lose a lot of money, but you can lose the customer trust. And if you lose the customer trust, then they will just migrate to
Of
other
course.
competitor, and you don't want to do that. In present, currently, we can say that we still have to learn how to use these
Yes.
to increase productivity without
On this,
embracing more risk.
on this,
Right.
just to add something, because there are a lot of
Mhm.
discussion about productivity, about jobs, about this.
Yeah.
There should be a distinction between jobs and tasks.
Oh,
So if
jobs
you're
and tasks.
looking, yeah, so the task is the atomic part. So a task
Mm-hmm.
is a task, it is the atomic part. And there are some tasks that can be
Mm-hmm.
automated. Just like you said, if I have a task, my work implies, to
Mm-hmm.
write code. But writing code is only a task. The
Yeah,
job is
exactly.
not to
Correct.
write code. I'm not paid for writing code. I am
Exactly.
paid to understand things, to design things, and to all this thinking part, and coding is only a task, to implement that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same if my job is to do some reflections, to build a strategy, and to create a PowerPoint at the end. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
PowerPoint is just a task, to create a PowerPoint. So I can
Mm-hmm.
delegate create the question of a PowerPoint to an agent once I explained everything, created a document, say, please create me a PowerPoint presentation about this. Or please
Mm-hmm.
implement this. I wrote an architecture, um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, document, and please try to put this in some skeleton implementation, to see how the classes look like and everything. But that is a part of the job. It's not the entire
Yeah,
job.
that's correct. That's very well
Yeah,
said. Very well said.
yeah.
Because software development, software engineering is a thinking job. It's a job where and you also have to uh, take into consideration a lot of things, and in the end, you are paid to do trade-offs, to do the best
Mm.
trade-offs. Because if tasks, as you said, were so well defined, they could be automated, and they could be automated by AI because you have very clear requirements and you know exactly what you want to get out of it. That can be automated. But most of the time, it's not like that. It's very fuzzy because you have a lot of you have pressure from a lot of things like time pressures. You need to deliver on time. You have budget pressure. You don't have an infinite amount of money to fund your project. You also have competition, and then you have to take into consideration what they are building as well, and you have to think about the opportunity cost. If I'm building this, then I don't have time to build something else that maybe that something else would have a better return of investment. So there are many trade-offs, and at the moment, I think that's difficult even for humans to deal with that. And don't think that AI can do that better than a human at the moment,
Mm.
right at the moment. But now, how about the future? Because people, software developers, I think that software developers are most scared about because they interact with these tools. I think that in
Yes.
other industries they are more relaxed because other than using ChatGPT to answer some questions, they don't really. It's very difficult to envision how much you can
Yeah.
do 2 years, 5 years, I don't know, 10 years from now. But as a software developer, you have this curse of interacting with all these tools like firsthand. So you can very easily get scared about what what does the future going what's there in the future for me if all these tools become. So what do you think about this? Is this something that's is this reasonable to be scared about that, or I don't know.
No, we should not be scared. And there are many, many examples in the past. So this is
Mm-hmm.
this major technological
Mm-hmm.
changes that they already happened in the past. It's not the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Um, I'll not give any examples, but yeah. But for the software developers, yeah, they should uh, realize that the value they are bringing to the company is not the code
Mm-hmm.
they are writing.
Exactly.
It's just like you said, it's all about that thinking about the system. So at the end, it's not the code that is bringing value,
Mm-hmm.
it's the outcome of a system. So they
Mm-hmm.
should be involved in that system, how to design the system, how to make it better, how to
Mm-hmm. The
add new
understanding.
features to
Mm-hmm.
understand everything. Yeah. And I would say that for the future, not only for engineers, but also for product managers or from
Mm-hmm.
designers and everything. They have this core skill, for engineers, for software developers. It's okay. I am very good at developing software. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they also need to develop some extra competencies, extra skills. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what is now called the T-shaped, skills. Meaning that engineers who also understand some business
Mm-hmm.
will be very valuable.
Will be more
Engineers that
valuable.
also
Mm-hmm.
understand a little bit of design, a bit of UI, UX, how the user interacts, how this,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be valuable. And to give an example, I saw last week from a company that I like a lot. a French company called Doctolib. It's about doctors' appointments and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So their engineering teams now, they're working a little bit different, meaning that for all the, let's say, features or improvements that don't have major impacts that can be rolled back easily,
Mm-hmm.
the engineering teams will no longer need the approval of a product manager. They are
Ah,
just implementing things, and they're just informing, hey, we did something. If it does not go well, we're reverting because it's an easy revert. For
yeah,
major
makes sense.
things, of course, the product manager will be involved, the UI UX will be involved, and you are doing this like everyone agrees, and you are shipping something important. But for the small things that can be, again, the rule was easy to revert. If it's easy to revert, we are
Nobody can do it.
empowering engineers to do this. But this
To take
implies what?
responsibility.
That
Mm-hmm.
engineers need to understand, the business. This is a little bit flaky. My UI, it's a bit flaky. Okay, let me
Mm-hmm.
try to do something. Oh, I observed that something is not well aligned. Or I observed that there's something, with the users would like to interact something and would like to do something. This, they need to go there, to understand the business, understand the customers, and to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And these
To take
kinds of
more.
of
Mm-hmm.
mindset will be available for companies.
So the migration from coding to building, to building
Yes.
software, and to have more and more the mindset of a product owner, to know not only how to build it, but also why you have to build it and what's the impact for the business. So that's going to be very valuable in the
Well,
end.
this I would say it's. I was expecting to also be available in the past because
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. But
you need to
mhm,
be proud about the work you're doing. No, if you're delivering some value to a company, it's you who are developing. So you should be proud of it, proud of your craft. If you're developing very well, you should be proud of that. And if you're proud and you're finding joy in what you're doing, you will also have the need to become better and to understand why you're doing that and not doing because you were asked to do. For all
yeah, it
this,
makes sense.
you engineers will remain engineers. And for those, yeah, who like to code, it's very good. I don't think it will be banned. You're not allowed to code.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I don't think so. But on the other way, if you're saying, oh, I did not have time to implement something because I really spent time to write some code and I forgot things, and it will be not so great, because at the end,
That's not.
companies they
Mhm.
want to ship things. They don't want to, it's not to make fun. It's not a hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And also, so basically, from from your the way you put it, as a software developer, if I'm taking these responsibilities from that previously would have been into, they would be provided by the product owner, by the project manager as well, by the scrum master, then it's going to be safer for me than if I didn't have these
No,
capabilities. Are other
definitely
things?
now.
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
I have on my whiteboard behind my desk.
Okay.
It's time
Okay.
to build because
It's
it's
time to
easy to
build,
build.
exactly.
It's
Hmm.
time to build. We need people.
Have
That
this mindset. Hmm.
exactly. I want to build things, and when I'm building things, I'm not building things that are crashing. And I
Okay.
build something, and the next day it's down. No, I want to build things, and I say I build this. I'm proud of it. I'm confident that what I build is something that I was expecting, and this again comes to that thing,
Hmm.
having the necessary skills, and this is very important, to to build all those guardrails to validate the
Hmm.
output. How would you validate the output? Well,
Exactly.
maybe you should not check all the lines, that were written, but at the end, if you're designing a good module, at least you'll know the contract of that module, the interface of that, and of course you will take a look, very close look to that interface, and you'll check all the time that contract should not be changed by the code. You should enforce it, and you should be
Hmm.
careful about security and all of that things. So again, it's still a lot of work to do, and you need to understand the system you are working on.
And I believe that previously, I think that previously it it was an advantage to be like the jack of all trades, to know a little bit about everything, because that would give you the flexibility, and also the company the flexibility to assign you on any project, on your projects. But I think that now, I think that it's more important to be to have to find your niche where you are very knowledgeable there, because if you do that and others do that as well, then you can easily assemble a team. So let's say that you are very good like in backend development. You know a lot of things about databases, how to engineer, how to infrastructure, the cloud. You know a lot about scaling, about performance, how to deal with this stuff, and then you make a good team with someone who's an expert in front end. But and that person knows also not only that that person knows about HTML, CSS, but he or she has the feeling of what looks good and what doesn't look good, and what works and what's like a good UI interface and what's like not so good. And if you do that and you um, find these people, then you can build teams. And if you give them access to AI, if you also have access to AI, I think that you can build even more, because you'll be capable of judging every part of the application, because you have the capabilities, which otherwise if you have all these people who only have like a shallow understanding of the things, I don't think that would be great, because then you are not very much different than AI, because AI also
Yeah.
has regression to the mean. It provides whatever it creates, it mimics like the average of capabilities in our industry. But if you want to have like a significant advantage, or to have something that differs from the average, then you would need someone who goes beyond the average. So I
Yeah.
think that, in my opinion, I would give this advice to people. If they have like, I don't know, something that they are mostly passionate about, like in my case that's database systems and backend, I would still say that the um, IT has a future, because those skills are still going to be needed in the future. But I believe that,
Yeah.
because I don't know whether that's correct.
Of
Maybe it
course.
will be a model
But
which would.
let's let's think a little bit more about the entire tech stack. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
just like you said, I am also I believe in it. Like
Mm-hmm.
people that are very good at one thing, they remain very valuable because
Mm-hmm.
AI will make them spectacular. Not only for, let's say, if you are data engineer, not only for the data part, so you'll become better using AI, but
Mm-hmm.
for the entire tech stack. Because previously,
Exactly.
what happened in a lot of cases I experienced, my previous experiences, was that the data teams, they're made of experts and doing a great job at the data layer, and they're very, very good. And the backend team, they're very good at backend, they're doing a great job at the backend. And the front end, very
Mm-hmm.
good, and they're doing a great job at front end. At the end, if you're putting all of those, it was not maxing out. Because each
Mm-hmm.
team, if you're taking like some analogy with machine learning, they're going to some maximum, but a local maximum. So when you're
Local
putting
maximum.
together, it's not a global maximum. With
Mm-hmm.
this AI, just like I said, you can take some responsibilities from, if your data, some responsibilities from the back end maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
try things to see how things are integrating together, how they're working together. Also from the front end, trying things, and it will help you like the entire tech stack to go and to converge to that global maximum, that everything is putting together integration, everything is
Mm-hmm.
working just like you would expect. And this is something new, because it
Yeah,
allows
that's correct.
the entire tech stack to grow together and to go to that maximum global. And not to like locally is very good. I'm very happy. All the data engineers were very happy. All the back engineers very happy. Front end very
Mm-hmm.
happy. At the end, it was not great.
Mm-hmm. It was
Yeah.
yeah, the assembling everything
All
doesn't
this because
necessarily.
all this
Mhm.
integration is difficult. And
Yeah,
we
yeah,
had a
yeah,
lot
that's
of
correct.
problems with the integration, the dependencies between teams, all this. Well, AI can also help you on this. It's much
Yeah, that's
easier.
correct.
To give you an example, you have an integration test and you're just asking Claude Code or Copilot CLI or Cursor or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Take this integration test. Please find me all the problems you are seeing. Write me a report on it.
Mm-hmm.
It will do a great job. because it is possible to go through all those layers of your tech stack to analyze,
Mm-hmm.
and then it will get a report. This service is slow. That one has some vulnerabilities. That one is not so great. So it will get very nice understanding of the entire tech stack.
Mm-hmm. And also, as you mentioned, which basically contradicts what I said previously, while actually not contradicts, I think it builds on top of it, it complements it. So I said that it's good to have your niche and to be capable there and to have capabilities that go beyond the average. But as you said, that doesn't discourage you from learning more. And I think now
Of
it's
course,
even easier than it was before, because now I can tell Claude, in my case, to do something related to CSS, and then I tell Claude to explain it to me why it works, and I figured out that it's actually a very good companion if you want to learn, because it can give you advice just in the same way that someone who's more knowledgeable than you would give you advice, and that helps you also understand why it works, not only to get the task done, as you said, but to get the understanding out of it. So you can use also AI for to expand your knowledge and to become better. So it's not just so you can see the positive in it. So it's not to be being afraid that it can do that, but then you can also learn from it and you can also
yeah,
learn why it does it, and that gives you also the advantage that AI has in the end. So I think that's also important, as you said. So you believe that there's still going to be work for us in the future, in the
of
next
course,
let's do 5 years. That's very
of
encouraging
course.
for the people
And
who are.
also, to not forget, yeah, like I
Hmm.
said, if when the AI will tell you some issues or some bugs, it
Hmm.
still remains someone who understands,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tries to improve, because at the end we are trying to build products, things. So it's not a one time. I build something, it works, I'm done. It's not like
Exactly.
that. It's not
Yeah.
like that.
It shouldn't be
You need
like,
to be.
it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be like that. Yeah.
But yeah, the downside is that people, I believe, and I experienced this myself. I mean, you give something and it works, and you validate it, and you're satisfied with the result, and it gives a second, a third, fourth, fifth time, and then you believe, you start to trust that it does a really good job, and then in
This
the end,
is this is
you are surprised that it
this
doesn't.
is a this is a psychological thing. Yeah. And
Exactly.
this,
Yeah.
when I was in e-commerce, they were working on product
Mhm.
recommendation, and I was very surprised. Yeah, product manager told us, yeah, you should recommend things that are, how to say, if a person said one time yes,
Yeah.
much easier for it to say yes a second time. So
Yeah.
you should be careful about the product recommendation. You're not recommending things that, no, I don't want this. Please say yes. Once it says yes once, the second time much easier. So
It's much
try
easier.
to trick him a little bit, trick. Yeah. To
Yeah.
have it yes, and then you're recommending things. And this is the same. If you're trying a system and it works once, twice, three times, you say, hey, it's great. The system earned your trust. And this
Hmm.
is everything, about the trust.
And I have only a few things that I had on my agenda to ask about to ask about it. So let's take the first one as a software developer. Let's say that I'm a software developer now, and I haven't experimented so much with AI. Which tools would you recommend for them to try?
Yeah, I don't have a preference.
Okay,
To be honest, I
okay.
think all of them are doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
But what we should pay attention to is what in
Mm-hmm.
English is called harness. What is
Okay,
around,
the harness.
what
Mm-hmm.
what what is around the model, because
Around
it's
the
not
model.
only a prompt and an LLM. It's more
Okay, it's
than
more.
that. It's more than that. So try to to understand what is the harness of Claude Code, what is the harness of GitHub
Mm-hmm.
Copilot, of Cursor, Cortex, and so ever, and try to work on that harness. Know what is around the model, and
Mm-hmm.
once you build that harness, you will see that pretty much regardless of the choice, you'll get some great results. Of course, in Claude Code, you
Mm-hmm.
can do things that you cannot do in GitHub Copilot. I agree, and And also one thing is that on Claude Code you get so many how to say influencers or presenters that I am using Claude Code. Look what I'm doing. There are not so many nowadays with Perplexity. A year ago, there were more about on Perplexity. There are not so many about Gemini. I don't know why,
Yeah,
because
I
it's a
think that
Google thing. I don't know, and they're not bad. I'm not saying it's very very bad. So no one is using those. I don't know why, but the thing is that okay, if you're seeing a lot of Claude Code, I think I would say okay, if I'm starting, try with Claude Code. You'll get some best practices, and you can try to replicate what you're seeing from someone who succeeded building something is much easier at the beginning. And then at
uh,
the end, it will become about the money, about if you're at a company, it will become about the contracts, about all these things. It is much complex. Yeah.
so the harness is just as important as the LLM. So let's say that as a company, I built the harness. Then can I use the open source models to replace the ones that actually
I
may
think I think
charge me more?
I think the big companies already started
They
because
already
now,
started doing that.
yeah, they already started. Well, if you're checking about the Quen
Mm-hmm.
models, the GLM5, about the
Mm-hmm.
Kimi models, the
Mm-hmm.
DeepSeek, well, the DeepSeek they have all the products.
Mistral as well.
The Mistral models. If
Mm-hmm.
you're checking at the benchmarks, you'll see that they start to have comparable
Mm-hmm.
performance with the frontier models from
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI and Anthropic. So why not have your open source weights model deployed
Mm-hmm.
locally to your company and use it? But at the end, it becomes, and now with VS Code, I think, and other tools, it allows you to use the harness of inside VS Code with GitHub
Mm-hmm.
and everything, and use local models. You're no longer paying for the calls to that model. So
And
it started,
mhm.
it starts.
So I believe that for some companies, maybe they don't even need the latest frontier models like the latest Opus or Fable or
Yeah,
something like that for their day-to-day business if they are tackling
correct.
some tedious jobs that are not very complex. So for those companies, maybe investing a little bit of money into the hardware that can run some open source model
I agree. Yes,
pay off in the end even better than a subscription because you're not in control. You've seen what happens over the past. I mean, at some point in April, using GitHub Copilot was very advantageous, and now it's not because they can
yes,
change the pricing model on an instant, and if you build on top of a single provider, I think that's risky because even Anthropic can change things, and they've changed.
of
Even
course.
if they don't want, maybe the administration wants things to be different, and they will have to comply. So yeah, that's great.
Yes,
So I
but
think,
yes, but
mhm, yeah,
at the
please.
end, as a company or as a let's say as a team,
Hmm.
you can have some the latest and best model, for complex things like to understand the architecture, to
Hmm.
make some suggestions at a high level, to understand the
Exactly,
business. So
to
very big
discuss.
model with a
Hmm.
huge context, very powerful. But then when they are delegating tasks, individual tasks to implement some
Yeah,
functions,
yeah,
some
exactly.
classes, make the calls to the open source models that are deployed locally. It will
And
cost
don't
zero.
spend money, exactly, and
Yeah,
don't spend
exactly.
money
So
on things.
so 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 spend the money on very difficult things and on easy things to implement.
Also,
Yeah, delegate to some local models. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense, and I think that's also very cost effective. Build a plan using a frontier model, and then delegate the plan, give the plan to some open source model or something that's cheaper. And also, as you said, these open source models get better, and at some point, it could be that. Uh, and also, I've seen that even more and more um, companies now provide like I've seen that AMD now builds something that's very similar uh, to that mini Mac. I'm not sure how it is called. The one that has unified memory. So they have like an
The Mac
AMD.
Minis. Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. So now they have like a Mac Mini, but by AMD
AMD.
using
Okay.
ARM, and then they have like 128 or even more RAM that you can just use for and assign freely to the Radeon chip, and then it can run some. I don't know, some reasonable models with 70 billions or even more parameters or something like that, which is quite fine for simple tasks. So I think we covered the past, we covered the present and the future that we shouldn't be so
Yeah.
scared about. And I don't think is
And
there anything left?
about
Any
about
tip?
the about the future, all this,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, in not in the last 2 years, but before I was going to this AI
Mm-hmm.
and ML conferences, and a lot of very good researchers, they're very upset because
Really?
there is a lot of effort put into LLMs,
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying it's not proved, that the LLMs are the correct choice. So
The correct choice for AI feature. Mm-hmm.
they're recommending, PhD students that are starting their research,
Okay.
do not go into all of them to go to LLM, some kind of LLM, and try to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And also try to, explore, because
Expand,
it's
expand. Mm-hmm.
expand, because it's not sure that the LLM is the future. Of course, now we are trying to squeeze the maximum out of them, and they're trying all these
Exactly.
improvements and trying this. Of course, and it's great, but it's not sure that in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
we will not get to something new. Yeah. And
Yeah.
this is just to say that what currently we are having, it will get better,
Mm-hmm.
but it will get even. We are not, how to say, um, maybe we are also very close to some new breakthroughs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it makes
on
sense. And I
this.
think that LLMs were, as you said previously, democratized the access to AI because you can just write text and get
Mm.
text back. So it's very easy to just give access to everyone. You don't need an API. Like previously, you would need an API. You would need to be a developer, an engineer, data engineer in
Yes.
order to use AI because AI was the interface to AI was a with a framework that had an API and you had to write code in order to get access to it. But as you said, there are some problems that could be solved by neural networks, and you don't need text for that because you need like more like machine learning to understand some patterns that are not necessarily written in forms of text, or don't really need a
Yeah.
text output out of it. And for that, some research should go into other directions that go
Yep.
beyond LLMs, and that's true. So, some tips to end this first podcast. Do you have some
Well,
tips for developers other than what you've just said?
for the developers, yeah, it's not a tip; it's a recommendation. Yeah,
Okay,
it's to start to understand better the business, so the value they are
okay,
bringing. Yeah, this is very
okay.
important. Yeah, once they realize that, they will be much
Mm-hmm.
more productive. Yeah, and they can also say no to some things that will not bring value. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Don't
and
just build because you can build it. Yeah.
exactly, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also another recommendation, I would say, yeah, it's time to build. We mentioned previous times, multiple occasions. So why not starting your own
Mm-hmm.
thing if you have a passion? If you see
Yeah,
that
to say.
something is missing, if you see something is missing in the
Mm-hmm.
industry, if you see a product that, okay, this will be great, but it does not have, in the
The
market is not present,
entrepreneur.
go there and build it, ship
Yeah, the
it.
entrepreneur
Yeah,
mindset.
of course.
All right.
Yes.
So thank you very much for taking your time to do
Thank
this
you, Vlad, for
podcast.
having me.
And I would like to invite you to some new things if you want, and
It will
you
be a
we can
pleasure.
we can ask we can because I'm going to host this on YouTube. So whoever has the patience of watching this because it's already an hour. Um, if you want to, I don't know, if you have some questions about AI, you can ask the questions there, and maybe we can run a new podcast like this, and we can answer those questions. Or I don't know, maybe if you have like a good book that you want us to go through and discuss it, that's also a good idea. We can discuss that chapter by chapters to uh, deep dive into some topics. Whatever ideas you have, I think that you can just write them in the comments and then we can analyze them and maybe we can maybe we can address them in a future podcast about that. So thank you very much, Georgia. It was a pleasure having you. It was a pleasure to introduce you to the audience. that I've built over the time, and I think it was very productive. There were many good ideas that were exchanged here, and I think that is going to be very valuable for the community. So thank you very much, and
Thank you very much, Vlad, for having me,
hope
and let's have another session. Yeah,
yeah, let's leave something for the next episode as well.
exactly. Yes, yes.
So
Thank
great,
you.
thank you.